episode 12 of the Back of a Length podcast. It has been a huge week with the Super Smash finals and the Big Bash finals on. We're going to kick into that with Mark. Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, I don't know where that came from. Hello.
I know, it's so posh. I thought I had the Queen on for a second. Hello. Oh, hello there, how'd you do? How was your week?
It was good. Like, packed with cricket, of course. I had a lovely long weekend here in Auckland, in the Tamaki Makaurau. How about you?
I did not have a week packed with cricket. I managed to escape Auckland for the long weekend and went up north and had zero signal because it was a nice remote beach, but good to get away from everything. Good to get away from Auckland, get away from work, get away from life. It was nice, it was relaxing.
That's near unheard of, somewhere without a signal.
I know.
Well, I thought that you had been quite quiet on the old Twitter this week, or the last few days, because usually you're all over that. However, I was on Twitter, Mark, and I think I've annoyed another person.
Don't even start. Who have you annoyed this week?
Well, I was looking at a sheet that the Central Stags Twitter account posted, and it was the team sheet that they had the Stags players and the Auckland players on.
Yes.
And right at the bottom, there was this comment that said, "Please fill in 8 copies and give to the match referee." And so I did a quote tweet. 8. And I was, why do you need 8 copies of a team sheet?
I think that's a legit question, to be fair.
I thought it was, and I got a bit of a reply of, well, actually, no, they didn't say because you can't say it doesn't really translate on the internet.
H.
It was just one for the referees, one for the scorers, broadcasters, etc.
Okay.
Which still seems like too many in 2022. Surely you could just do a Google Doc.
You haven't annoyed another person, you've annoyed a complete cricketing district with your questions by the sounds of it.
That's correct.
Good job.
That's correct.
Why go for one when you can just piss off a whole collective of cricket people?
So yes, what will happen is that poor person will be like, look what this horrible person did, and Adam Milne will lean over and be like, that looks like the creepy girl from last week.
Yeah, she said she fancies me. Let it slide, lads. You know, she's cool. She's pretty sweet.
Okay, Mark, what's coming up in this episode?
We've got the usual sweep. We'll go around and do what's happened in the cricketing world this week, and then your whole segment is the review of the SuperSmash, because sad face, it is over.
It is over, but there's going to be a huge review. We're going to go through every single team. That is coming up soon.
England played cricket again this week and last week, and they lost again. Different format. It was 5 T20 series. England on the back end of a 3-2 defeat. Not really sure what to make of that, to be honest. There were some good performances, some absolutely terrible performances. Just very inconsistent, which, I guess is better than being consistently poor, like the men's team were in the Ashes. But, it's 2020.
That's what I would have said. It's 2020 cricket. There's going to be ups and downs. Let's skip over England and say I'm just glad the West Indies found some form towards the end of that series. Some really big hits. They love playing at home in front of their crowds. I think this series is all about the West Indies.
Crowds allowed back in the West Indies for the first time since I think the first lockdown.
Long time.
Yeah, good to see the crowds back in there. Heaps of English people made the trip over as well, which made for a good atmosphere from what I heard on the old television. Plenty to work on for England. Obviously a massive year for T20 internationals with the World Cup in October, so they've got a lot of thinking to do. Also, they were missing half a team, so they were missing the likes of Joss Buttler, Ben Stokes, Jofra Archer's coming back from injury, Chris Wokes wasn't there, Mark Wood wasn't there either, so obviously a lot to work on for them, but good that the reserve players, all those in and around the fringes, got a bit of a hit, got a bit of time out in the middle in a full match scenario, which was good for them.
Definitely. I don't think anyone played particularly bad, just some really up and down performances, a couple of standouts there. But really excited to see what England can do. Can they make a comeback? Because we do love a comeback here on this podcast.
We certainly do. They've got 3 test matches coming up in March, I think, against the West Indies, so that's the next time that we will see England try and do something half decent. Speaking of England doing something half decent, a very, very topsy-turvy women's Ashes test match.
Yes, a one-off test.
One-off test that ebbed and flowed over all 4 days. England winning a toss and deciding to have a bowl first, which you wouldn't normally do, according to the commentators at the Manuka over there in Canberra. Started off really well. I think Australia were 8 for 2, 37 for 3, and then a mammoth partnership between the Australians. I think it was Meg Lanning and the opener, whose name escapes me at the moment. I really should have written that down. Put England on the back foot, and they posted a first innings score that was, quite a decent score. It was around about 350 odd. England won. Huge standout performer in the first innings, Heather Knight, 168 not out.
Wow.
Unbelievable knock. She did really well, kept England in the game really, because some of the batters got in, got out, made a few starts, but she really was the glue that held the innings together. And then Australia went on to set quite a generous declaration, I think, to try and force a result. I think they were conscious of rain at the latter end of the test match, so that's why I think they made that declaration to give themselves the best chance of bowling England out. They set England 254 to win, and England so close to chasing it down.
So close, yeah.
So close to chasing it down. 241 for 9, I believe they finished on.
Yes, they did.
They needed 13 runs off the last over, and Australia needed 1 wicket, which is what Test match cricket is all about. It was somewhat reminiscent of the Sydney Test match, albeit England also had a chance to win this game. So a brilliant advertisement for women's cricket, women's Ashes Test match cricket.
Should they have gone for 5 days?
I don't understand why they don't. I know that women's Test cricket is historically 4 days, but I don't see any reason why they couldn't go for 5 days. There is absolutely no difference.
Yeah, there's no reason. We don't get tired after 4 days, just so you know. They're professional athletes. They can go for 5 days. So the feminist in me is coming out and saying, if you want to make this an equal sport, you got to go for 5 days, because then Australia would have batted for longer. England could have tried to go for that win, knowing that they had an extra day up their sleeve. So I think if you're aiming to put men and women cricket on the same pedestal, you've got to do a 5-day test. I don't understand why.
Give them both the same conditions. Playing devil's advocate here, I would say that it is possible that the gulf between the top teams and the lesser teams is so big that usually only 4 days would be needed. Can you then go and realistically say, well, the Ashes women's test match, that's going to go for 5 days?
I once read a stat that men's games, about 25% of them go to day 5, so I don't think that's a reasonable argument. I mean, how quickly did England go out in their Ashes?
Well, I was very much hoping that you weren't going to raise that. But no, I realised when I said the chasm between the top teams and the lower teams, England being one of the lower teams at the moment, it's not an argument that I agree with, but just playing devil's advocate, that might be the reason. But women's cricket also doesn't have that much test match cricket. They need to have a lot more between the nations. This is a great advert for it, and should hopefully wake the ICC up to give women more test match cricket. My personal opinion.
We'll see more test cricket soon, but back to the T20 format. The Big Bash finished over the weekend. No surprises, the Scorchers winning that. They have been absolutely dominant all season. They beat the Sixers in the final, the Scorchers scoring 171 and the Sixers being bowled out for 92. Absolutely dominant this season.
Yeah, I caught the highlights earlier because I obviously wasn't able to watch the game, having no signal up north. Scorchers 25 for 4, so recovered really well to post 171. And then, the Sixers just lost regular wickets along the way. It was a pitch that seemed a little bit slow, and it was quite conducive to the spinners. But losing 3 wickets for 0 runs in the middle overs kind of, sealed their fate there, unfortunately, for the Sixers. But, congratulations to the Scorchers. Deserved winners, I would say, because they've been the most consistent and the best team this season.
Absolutely, and the big question is, will we see Colin Munro in the T20 squad that will be in Australia, New Zealand's T20 squad, later this year? We'll have to wait and see. He's put on his argument. It is up to New Zealand.
It is, yeah. He started the tournament really well. Kind of fell off there towards the end, but still made it really good. Even just for having the exposure on Australian pitches, I think will serve him really well. And yeah, as you say, we'll have to wait and see what New Zealand cricket decide to do, because they're currently blessed with a lot of top order batsmen in that T20 side. So whether he can fight his way in there remains to be seen.
It sure does. And finally, the Under-19 World Cup is going on. That is going into their final stages. Of course, that is a tournament that breeds talent. All our great players have been there. But just a really fun fact, Mark. Did you know, in the Ireland versus Zimbabwe game over the past week, during play, as someone was running into bowl, there was an earthquake.
Oh, was there?
And they kept playing. So there you go.
Good on them. Solid.
No
Good
need to
on them.
stop for an earthquake.
Because that's in West Indies, I believe,
Correct,
isn't it?
yes,
At the
yes.
moment. Yeah.
That is correct, yeah. So an earthquake off the coast there. Obviously no one was hurt, thank goodness.
Thankfully,
no, no big cracks of head in the pitch, apart from a bowler. None from an earthquake. But just a really fun fact for you.
Thanks very much. No, that's a pretty cool fact. Yeah, actually, really good to see England's under-19s going well. They, I think, have smoked every team in it so far. So yeah, the future's looking bright. We just need to get rid of the current crop, get the under-19s in straight away. But they're in the semi-final against Afghanistan, and India under-19s play Australia under-19s in the other semi-final there.
You're looking forward to those. That's a sweep for the week. Up next, SuperSmash wrap up. Yes, the SuperSmash has wrapped up for the 2021-22 season. I am sad. All good things must come to an end.
They do. I'm going to have to find something to do with my Fridays and Saturdays now.
I thought I might go outside.
Ah, no, it's overrated.
No, really, yeah.
I am very badly sunburnt for the third week in a row, so going outside for me is over. Yeah. Very overrated.
Okay, we thought it would be fun to take a look at all the teams from this season. So let's start at the bottom of the women's table with the Brave women. Of course, the Brave, rebranded this year from the Spirits. Look, they came bottom of the table. They are a very young team. They have minimal household names. And they had an interview with their coach right at the start of the season, who just said their preparation for this tournament was so badly hindered thanks to COVID and lockdowns. Of course, a number of their players are from Auckland and were stuck in Auckland with the regional boundaries, and they also, of course, there was also a Waikato boundary, if you'll remember back. So look, not surprising.
Yeah, good experience for the younger players, getting out there into that competitive and well publicised tournament conditions, I'd say. Obviously being on telly with every game on Spark Sport. Plenty to be going on with, and plenty of improvement needed from them next season. But as you say, a young team that will only benefit from the experience that they've had.
Definitely. The Hinds came in fifth. That's the Central Hinds. They have some really good players in their team. You've got Hannah Rowe, Rosemary Mayer. I just thought these guys struggled to gain any momentum throughout the season. I can't really pick out any top moments. They sort of just were there. They turned up. They played some good games. They played some not good games. Yeah,
there's a few games I remember that they got themselves into winning positions and just weren't able to get that over the line. So I remember going to the game against the Magicians, and they, in the last 3 or 4 overs, were well on top. Magicians were way behind the strike rate, or the run rate, sorry. Weren't able to just get it over the line. Some bad length bowling that got dispatched into the stands of Pukakura Park. So, I'd say probably a more disappointing season for them than the Brave, because they do have some decent players that just weren't able to get what the Hinds would have wanted out of the season.
Yeah, I think they could have picked up against that Auckland Hearts game at Eden Park, but just not to be this season. In fourth place, the Magicians are losing right at the end, not making that elimination final. This season, it really was about the comeback of Frankie Mackay. She's got her White Ferns contract back, and she was just cementing her point. Really, really excellent. One highlight for the Magicians was Amy Satterthwaite with 114, the second equal top scorer across both the men and the women. Look, they won the matches they should have. They won against the Brave, they won against the Hinds. They just couldn't knock down those top teams.
Yeah.
I think they've ended up where they should have ended up.
Yeah, so probably a solid season for them, really, in terms of
solid.
where they should have ended up. Not really too much to say, to be honest, about the Magicians. But great to see Frankie Mackay back.
Yeah, we really, really enjoyed seeing Frankie Mackay, so of course we'll see her hopefully coming up in the next few weeks with the White Ferns. And the third was the Hearts. They lost that elimination final, but they did Auckland proud. I thought they had a pretty good all-round performance. Of course, we're not going to use COVID as an excuse, but of course the women were locked down for a long, long time. They've got a number of senior players in there with Huddleston and Perkins, and a couple of young names. Kelly Down, Fran Jonas has a development contract with the White Ferns as well. I thought they had some good games, had some bad games. We will not remember the game they lost by 10 wickets. Really think that this team could pick up in the future.
Yeah, again, lack of preparation. They suffered with that, I think, a little bit. So to have come in third after not having any preparation going into the tournament and kind of sort of last minute, figuring out that your games are actually going to be on so I think it was the 18th of December they started. You were already behind what everybody else had done. So you're always playing catch up, and props to them for the pressure that they would have been under to get those results. They did really well getting into the elimination final.
Yeah, I think they did get lucky, I guess you could say, because their first couple of games were against the Brave, who, as we said, were just a young team, and they won those two games. So I think they got their momentum a lot quicker than the men's team, which we will come to. I know that our friend Steph really likes Arlene Kelly, so we'll give a shout out to her, Arlene Kelly, a great bowler. But yeah, looking forward to what the Hearts can do. Many
tweets over the course of the SuperSmash, just simply saying in big capitals and heaps of exclamation marks, "Go Arlene!" So
go Arlene! Yes, we look forward to what Arlene can do in the future. All right, so we come down to the final, and in second place it was the Sparks. I thought the Sparks had a really good season. Susie Bates coming back from injury, an absolute standout.
100%.
Probably 100%. Her 101 partnership with Polly Inglis against the Auckland Hearts was a particular highlight for me.
If you remember back to the start of the SuperSmash reviews that we were doing, every week was talking Susie Bates has scored this amount of runs, Susie Bates has done this, Susie Bates carried on, this is the Susie Bates Appreciation Society. She really did lead from the front for that team, really. Just scoring runs at the top of the order there. Her captaincy was really good as well. So the Sparks were led well, they played well. Just unfortunately came second, came up a little bit short in the final.
Yeah, I think her leadership was really, really good. I mean, if you're a young person in that team and you've got Susie Bates to have a chat to, I think she just comes across as she's got so much wisdom. She comes across so nice and wanting to take the women's game really far and invest in it. And I think having her in this competition has just been an absolute highlight. Yeah,
I think, as you say, for younger players as well, she's not the worst sounding board in the world, is she, to throw ideas around. She's been there, she's done most of it, if not all of it. So yeah, definitely good experience for the younger players, and good for her to be able to lend her skills, her knowledge, her tactics to those younger players in that team. I wish she was my friend. Still time. You never know. Still time for Susie Bates to be my friend. In the meantime, let's celebrate the Wellington Blaze. They were the best team in the competition, men or women. Sophie Devine leading from the front, 92 in the final to basically make it unbeatable. Maddie Green standing up alongside her with 55. We had Lee Kasperick just bowling good balls, and the Kerr sisters just went about their work this season. These are all mainstays of the Wellington side. I thought this is the best team. Yeah, they were unbelievably good, unbelievably consistent. So the fact that they won the final is not a surprise, because it was fully deserved. Similar to what we were saying about the Scorchers, if you're the most consistent team and you win all your games, then obviously you deserve to win the final. That goes a little bit understated, but just really good players littered throughout that team. They've got a really good unit and players who have played together for quite a while now, so they know each other's games really well.
They were the only team in the Super Smash to go unbeaten all season in the group stages and then to win the final. So 11 from 11. Lee Kasprick came away with the most wickets, 20 wickets. That is bloody phenomenal. Most runs went to, of course, Susie Bates, 504 runs. That was actually the most runs in the whole competition, men or women. And the most catches for Susie Bates at 20.
She is a one-man band, isn't she, Susie Bates? She does everything. She's so good. She's so good. You wonder why we're a Susie Bates Appreciation Society. To score 504 runs, which is the most across the whole competition, men or women's, and also to take 20 catches. Just, unbelievable. And still be able to captain her team and utilise the best tactics and get them through a very good season. Unbelievable. Shot Susie.
And all with a smile on her face.
She loves it.
Shot Susie.
She loves it. Shot Susie Boo. There we go.
All right, so the best thing about the Super Smash, though, is it is where we see the players who will be our future. So I've highlighted 2 players.
Yeah.
Firstly, Zara Jetly from the Wellington Blaze. She had the best bowling figures of the Super Smash. 4 wickets for 1 run of 3 overs.
Good day's work, isn't it?
Bloody good day's work. And it was funny because she nearly didn't bowl in the final.
Oh, really?
I think she has a really good style when she bowls. She flights the ball really well, a bit of variation, which is nice to see in the women's game. She's about 20 years old, so we'll be looking that she'll get a development contract to the White Ferns hopefully soon. The other player I wanted to highlight was Eden Carson from the Sparks. I thought she just has a really good style on the field. She was the third highest wicket taker in the Women's Super Smash, and she's sitting on a White Ferns development contract. So I think she is another one to watch. I think she's about 21 or 22 years old. So really like her style.
Yeah, it's good to see these young players coming through. And again, thanks to Spark Sport, because we actually get to see them in action and be able to follow their career visually, as opposed to just obviously looking at results and seeing how well they are pitching in for their team. So very exciting for both the Blaze Sparks and also the White Ferns going forward to have these players coming through. And again, said it before, just getting the exposure to tournament cricket and to pressure situations will only serve them and the White Ferns well going forward. Cool. Moving on to the men's. We will run through again in a descending order or ascending order. I always get those two mixed up. We'll go in ascending order. I think that's from bottom to top. The Volts, unfortunately, came last. They finished bottom. Big surprise. They have so many good domestic players. They've got, Aruna Kitchen, Neil Broom, Hamish Rutherford, Bacon, Duffy. They're all household names here in New Zealand. Just with them in your team, you're surprised that they came last?
I'm absolutely gobsmacked they came last. They let so many opportunities slip away from them. They came away with 1 or 2 wins in the season. They had a bit of an they upset someone. I believe it was the Kings, and they won that first game.
Or was it
the Firebirds? The Brave. Sorry,
Brave, I think
it was one of their games. They I should have researched it, but they upset a really top team, and you sort of thought that the Volts were on their way to good things and have a really good season. But really disappointed. They sort of had a bit of a weak middle order. Max, they're sort of scoring in their teams. Max Chu, a couple of good knocks. I don't really know what it was about the Volts, because they seem like a good unit. And a good team. It just didn't come together for them. But also you don't want to forgive them, because this was a team who had Auckland at 26 for 6 and then lost the game.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you again for that. Volts, we've really appreciated
we're
that.
grateful, but
We're grateful, but your supporters might not be.
Yeah, so I think the Volts have got probably need to have a good reflection on what actually went wrong and try to pinpoint it, because I'm sort of struggling to say this was wrong, that was wrong. Not a good time.
I agree. Speaking of teams that need to go away and have a bit of reflection, are Auckland Aces.
They sure are.
Second bottom for a team that on paper, they had a really good team. You had Worker that came across from Central Stags, who has a phenomenal SuperSmash record. You've got the likes of Glenn Phillips, you've got Mark Chapman, you've got Martin Guptill, who albeit was missing for half the season, Lockie Ferguson, so many good players there. Ben Lister as well. Just struggling again to see where it went wrong. The only point that I would make was that they, from my perspective anyway, in my opinion, they didn't play the game situation particularly well.
Yeah.
Especially with the bat. You have players there when they're coming in at like 15 for 3 in a power play, still throwing the bat. And yet, fair enough, you could say that it's a bit of a counter-attack, but it never worked. Not once did it work. So after a couple of times of going, you go, okay, fair enough. Do you know what? We are going to consolidate. And I think that's what they did really well when they did beat the Volts, is they had Sean Salia, who faced about, I think it was 56, 57 balls for 64. They had someone there who just went through the innings, and you never know what's going to happen if you've got somebody who does that.
Yeah, I would agree. Obviously, the Sean Salia was an absolute highlight of their season, but I just felt like Phillips, Chapman, Worker tried to just come out and hit it straight away. I mean, they all tried to do it, and it's like they just weren't talking to each other. And now, Mark, I put out a bit of a funny tweet. Well, I thought it was funny at the time on Twitter, saying this is about them being 26 for 6, and old Mitchell McClenaghan got a hold of it. We are following each other on Twitter, and he said, Renee, this is
cricket friends.
Cricket friends. Yes, he said, Renee, this is the worst Auckland team that has been there in years. Their coach is leaving, and in his opinion, their coach should have already left. Big words. Big call.
It's
not wrong.
Yeah, I don't think he is wrong, because you go back to on paper, and it should in theory be one of the best teams. So when I first started following the SuperSmash, obviously I live in Auckland, so I could not for the life of me understand why Auckland, being probably the most major city in New Zealand, biggest population, doesn't have the best team.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I also just want to point out that this is the side that let Finn Allen go. This is, Kyle Jamieson went to Christchurch to get his start of his career, and once he was up and sort of on that fringe of the Black Caps, came back to Auckland to take a contract. So I just don't understand what Auckland are doing. They've got so many good players. They should be better. I don't know. It's a real struggle.
You had Adi Ashok come through this year, and that's good to see that a younger player got the opportunity. Oh, yeah. But apart from him, I can't think of any young player who came in. Maybe Ben Horn, I don't know how old he is, but I don't know of any other young player that's come in, or any young player in the Auckland circuit that is on the fringes of coming into this team. You look at the team, and they've got, Guptill, they've got Worker, they've got O'Donnell. I think, they're all sort of peak or beyond in their careers.
Great.
Where are the younger players coming from? Because I don't actually think Auckland have been that good historically. So to let the likes of Finn Allen go, to let the likes of Kyle Jamieson go, where if you're a youth player and you wanted to come through the Auckland ranks, you look at that and you go, well, where is my opportunity? My opportunity here is to leave Auckland.
That's what I would think. If I was a player, I would probably be like, okay, looking at these teams, the Firebirds look really good, the Kings look really good. They're just better. It's a better environment. So I think Auckland's got a bit of rebuilding to do more in the culture side, because look, they've got some incredible talent in there. The players that we've mentioned are good. I mean, a bunch of them have been on the fringe of the Black Caps. Obviously you've got Lockie Ferguson, who we love, myself probably a bit too much. Kind of actually held this team together. Of course, he had a 6 to win over the Stags earlier in the season. So it's just, where does Auckland go from here? I don't have an answer, but they'll be sitting down and having a think. All right, let's move on from Auckland and talk about the Central Stags. They came in 4th. They started their campaign really well. I thought they had some convincing wins in the first couple of games. Dane Cleaver came out with 114, and then they beat defending champions Wellington. And then it kind of collapsed, and they turned into a bit of a nothing team. They lost a number of games. Of course, they lost that game against the Kings, where they had scored 200 plus, and then the likes of Henry Shipley, and I believe it was either Cam Fletcher, I believe, who came out and went smacky to win it. I thought probably fourth is where the Stags should be, having looked at what they did. My question mark.
Okay.
They play 3 games at Pukakura Park and 1 at Fitzherbert Park, which is not big grounds. Are they at a disadvantage?
No.
Okay.
No, not really. You would say that even though they played 3 games at Pukakura and 1 at Fitzherbert, what I was going to mention about Auckland before, it was mentioned on the Spark Sport commentary, is that Auckland don't know their ground, don't know their pitch, which is why they're actually better away from home than they are at home. The Stags, I don't think there's that much of a disadvantage. They obviously have the choice of where they play their games, and yes, there's a they're a pretty decently sized region, so I think getting out to Palmerston North to play a couple of games is fine. I don't think there's a disadvantage there. I just don't think that they were one of the top teams this year, unfortunately. When you look at the 3 teams that we've got left to review, they are miles above the other 3 teams that we've gone through so far.
Yeah, let's take a look at those teams now. So in third place, the defending champions, the Firebirds, losing the elimination final to the Kings. I mean, when you are the winning team, you're going to be scrutinised when you're suddenly not the winning team. So my biggest thing about the Firebirds this season is I just think they couldn't find their mojo without these international players, and they really struggled with their batting lineup. So you had your top 2, of course, with Finn Allen and Tim Robinson came in when the internationals weren't here. And then they were just chopping and changing this batting order with Bracewell and 3, 4, 5. Van Beek batted at 3 in one game, just super randomly. Blundell was he at the top? Was he at the bottom? Was he, lower down when he was keeping? When he was back in the team. Finn Allen was keeping, which is just bizarre. I just thought he did a really good job. I just thought they couldn't figure that out, and when it mattered, that's what let them down.
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head there. The inconsistency in terms of their lineup and their batting order probably cost them a place in the finals in the end. Because they are stacked with good players, but when you take out those international players, Tom Blundell, Rachin Ravindra, I think Jimmy Neesham was away for a while as well because he was back in isolation from the T20 World Cup.
Devon Conway, of course.
Devon Conway, absolutely, yeah. You take those players out of the team, and any team is going to be a little bit worse for wear as a result. But given that, I think they actually did quite well to get to the elimination final.
Yeah, they have got a really good bowling lineup with the likes of Bennett Van Beek, Ben Sears, who I think we'll see in the internationals relatively soon. All the Spark Sport commentary was talking him up. He's a bit of a character. Their spinners, of course, are really good. Bracewell, Peter Younghusband. So yeah, they bowl deep, if you could say that. Is that something you could say?
Yeah, I guess they've got many options.
Many bowling options. Oh, the real question mark I want to ask you: Hamish Bennett, has he got another season?
Well, he was injured towards the end of the season, wasn't he? I know the answer you want to hear, which is an absolute positive yes. Another big fan of Hamish Bennett, aren't you?
Oh, well, I met him once, so I do consider him my best friend. And also,
cheers, mate.
But the most important thing is...
appreciate that, thanks.
It's mostly because I managed to talk to him for about 20 minutes and not creep him out. So it's a pretty big achievement for me, Mark.
I don't know what that says about him, because I can imagine how you were. Maybe he's just the most docile of characters.
He's a bit of a non-unit. Really good for a yarn. Great stories. I'll never forgive him for saying anyone who likes cricket is weird. Look, I would love to see Hamish Bennett back, but I'd also love the Firebirds to play their best players, and if they look and think there's a better bowler coming in, they, apart from Ben Sears, who we may see in the internationals and therefore out of the squad, they don't have a lot of young talent, because I think Bennett's at his older age. Van Beek, I think, has missed his New Zealand opportunity. Potentially we'll see him playing for the Netherlands later this year. So I think they need to have a think about who is their next fast bowler. So hopefully we'll see Hamish Bennett back. I think he's got one more season in him.
Oh, you've definitely got one more season in you, Hamish. Let's go.
Hamish.
coming into the final then, the top two teams. It was the Canterbury Kings who finished in second place. Lost the final, unfortunately, to the Brave. But a really solid season for them. They started off really well and then went from strength to strength when the internationals came back in. The likes of Tom Latham and Daryl Mitchell. Tom Latham at the top of the order actually played really well. You don't really see him too much as a T20 player, but I thought he anchored that innings at the top really well and generally got them off to a good start.
I thought so too. So his first game back he played at Hagley Oval. Of course, that was not long after he scored, I believe, 250 plus for a test. So you're just thinking, Tom Latham is basically married to Hagley Oval. I wouldn't be surprised if he lives there. But then he came back and of course, the elimination final was played at the University of Otago Oval. So good to see him have a good innings there to get his team through to the final, and then again a decent innings up at Seddon Park. So either Tom Latham sort of saying, hello, don't forget about me in the T20 series, because he is not in the normal squad. He had a good series away in Bangladesh when they took over the, I guess you'd say the second tier T20 squad. Yes. So very interesting to see what will happen with Tom Latham. Meanwhile, you've got Daryl Mitchell in that team, who basically just loves being on a cricket pitch.
He's a bit of a cricket badger, as we term them back in the UK. I don't know if you use that phrase over here, but they've got a few good bowlers as well. Todd Astle very rarely disappoints. He's pretty steady. Ed Nuttall had a really, really good season. I was really impressed with Ed Nuttall. He's been around a little while. I thought he had some really good comebacks. Of course, never forget he got hit one for 30 and then came back with 3 for 35 or something ridiculous like that. So I thought he sort of came in. I thought Ed Nuttall was a bit of a standout. I know he's attempting to get over to England to play some cricket there in the off season. If you happen to be in charge of an English club, surely pick up Ed Nuttall. There's enough English clubs that somebody will pick them up. There's about 50 of them, unfortunately, which is a bit of a sore point in the English game at the moment. But you look at the batting as well. They had Cam Fletcher, keeper batsman. Chad Bowes had a really, really good season as well.
Great season.
And Matt Henry as well in the bowling unit did really well. Just a really solid team, a solid season from a solid team.
I agree. Look, I think, though, they did lose to the best team in that final, and that was, of course, the Brave Men under their new name from the Northern Knights. They're now the Northern Districts Knights. Now the Northern Brave. So I think, firstly, the biggest highlight for me this season was the captaincy of Jeet Ravel. Potentially not his best season with the bat. Or the bets, hopefully. He didn't do any betting.
Lost me a few, but that's all right. No worries. No worries, G.
So I thought he captained really, really well, because he had a lot of bowlers to choose from. You had Bolt come in, of course, for that game prior to the Test series, and then they left, and then Bolt and Southey came back for a few games, and then Bolt was unavailable for the final. So to be able to bring you're basically the best two bowlers in the world into your team, and then have to bring in the likes of Walker and Verma, I think he did that really, really well. And I also liked that you had Walker and Verma were probably like, okay, Bolt's not here, I'm going to have to stand up and do well. Yeah. Because I don't want Bolt to be able to just walk in and take my slot.
Yeah, the bowling options that they had are unbelievable. You look at it, they could have chosen from Trent Bolt, Tim Southey, Scott Kugelheim, Mitch Santner, Ish Sodhi, Colin de Grandhomme, and I think Joe Walker bowled a few overs as well at some point, a bit of spin. So, there's about 8 players there who can bowl you good 3 or 4 overs. Just unbelievable depth in the bowling unit, and some really good depth in the batting lineups as well. Carney Clark opening up at the top of the order with Tim Seifert. Again, Colin de Grandhomme, you mentioned him coming in. Joe Carter, Jeet Raval himself, obviously not the greatest of seasons for him, but still on his day can bat really well. So unbelievable team that they've managed to assemble. But I've said it before, they should have the best team apart from Auckland, because they've got Northland to choose from. They've got Waikato and Bay of plenty as well, and Tauranga.
Correct, yeah. And you
just-
know that Tauranga basically breeds cricket players.
Yes.
If you know that region, they've got some incredible cricket players from there. So yeah, they do have the best team. For me, I think if I had to nitpick something, I think Colin de Grandhomme, probably not his best season. Just in terms of what we know Colin de Grandhomme can do. He's always got this temperament to come out and hit the ball.
Yeah.
So I would be interested to see if New Zealand do pick him up again.
I have a theory about Colin de Grandhomme, and he lives by his reputation.
Yes.
Because I can't remember the last time that he had a good performance. Every time I've seen Colin de Grandhomme come out, he has flattered to deceive, is probably the best way that I would term it. He probably belongs in the Auckland team, actually, because his game awareness of playing a game situation is not great. He just, his bowling has become a lot more consistent than his batting, but he's in the team for his batting as somebody who can bowl a little bit. He lives by reputation for me, and needs to, if he wants to get back into the New Zealand team, because I don't see that happening anytime soon, he needs to put up some big performances, for sure.
Let's talk key statistics. Most wickets went to Henry Shipley.
Yeah.
Henry
18
Shipley.
wickets.
We'll touch on him. We won't touch him. We'll touch on him a little bit later.
Careful.
Just in a moment.
Careful. Another restraining order on its way.
I'll sidebar. I can bite back at Henry Shipley because I once saw him very drunk and very inappropriate. But amazing guy.
Okay.
Absolutely a good laugh. Most runs for the men's competition went to Michael Bracewell, 478. Of course, most of that came from that 141 he scored.
Yep.
That was just incredible high score of the SuperSmash.
And Jeet Raval with 13 catches. Similar to Susie Bates. Yeah, it's the captains who have taken the most catches, putting themselves in the most important positions, which I guess is leading from the front in a way for Jeet Raval, which is good to see.
Absolutely. All right, so we will get to the most important part of the SuperSmash soon, which is, of course, the best here. But before we do that, we're going to just highlight 4 players. It was so hard to narrow it down to just 4, but 4 players to watch in the future, starting with one of your highlights, Mark. Who was that?
My favourite, Carney Clark, opening up there. He had a great season. Just fearless cricket. I think if you were able to, give him another couple of years, and if you could just imagine him and Finn Allen opening up for the Black Caps in the T20, fearless cricket, they could easily put on 100 in 6 or 7 overs and take the game away from an opposition.
Yeah, I thought that you say fearless cricket, but what I would like to say is fearless but smart, because he defended well, he left balls that he needed to. He was super aware of his back foot when spin bowling. He nearly got stumped. Like, he could have been stumped so many times, but he was grounded. Just his awareness really, really stood out for me. Because we know T20 cricket, you can come out and you can just go whack, whack, whack. But Carson Clark had that little bit of depth. I believe he is 22 now, so a lot to go. And also just an absolute trooper to come out in that game prior to Christmas, when he had retired injured, and lucky for him he got to stand at the other end of the pitch and watch Trent Boult hit a 6 to win the game. I've been told, just my friend David from Twitter, that was his highlight of the season, was Trent Boult hitting that 6. Just to bring that up. There you go, Dave. It's
not a surprise, to be fair, because I think was a highlight for many people, seeing Trent Boult hit that 6 in the celebrations. But yeah, it's a good point you make about Carney Clark, is he is fearless. He does hit the ball really well, but he's measured in his approach. Generally picks the right balls to hit, and when he hits it, it stays hit.
Definitely. Now, Carson Clark was being bowled to by Henry Shipley in that final, and I put out a tweet and I thought, Shipley to Clark. Just to clarify to all our listeners, this is not Jenny Shipley to Helen Clark of the
bit of politics talk there.
Politics debate of the early 2000s. No, this is Henry Shipley to Carson Clark.
But if you are listening, Jenny Shipley and Helen Clark, if you fancy giving us a go, just send us a little video on Twitter. We'd love to see it.
I would absolutely love to see that. Okay, now I said that Shipley and Clark were going to be in this team. Mitchell McClenaghan again chimed in. He said, I don't think so. Henry Shipley does need to pick up his pace to break into the international. But Mark, I'm a sucker for a fast bowler. So
you've just done him a massive disservice there, calling him a slow fast bowler.
I know. Oh my gosh. I feel so bad. No, Henry Shipley, a fast bowler. I also want to point out Henry Shipley, very handy with the bat this season, which I think was not something we saw from a lot of 7/8s in that batting lineup. So I think
it's an interesting point that
a handy all-rounder.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point that Mitchell McClenaghan makes, because you've already got a few fast bowlers there in the Black Caps T20 squad. I think you probably need somebody who's not same. I think if you look at some of the teams or the international T20 teams, they've got their out and out pace bowlers. Then they've got somebody who bowls a really good consistent line and length. And he's quite tall, Henry Shipley, so he gets a good amount of bounce.
Very tall.
So
he's a lot like Kyle Jamieson, to be honest.
Trying to time your back foot shots to a ball that's not coming onto the bat as well is actually really difficult. I would imagine, having never faced anything above 60 miles an hour myself. Yeah. But when the ball comes onto the bat, you're literally playing by instinct. If you've got a little bit more time, you can overthink it, and you've also got to put a bit more pace on the ball off the bat. So I respect Mitchell McClenaghan's opinions, given that he's been in the game for a long time to a very successful level. But I would like to see Henry Shipley break through to the international level.
Me too. I think it would be up the order, though, not in that sort of 11 fast bowler. All right, a couple of friends had some opinions on some good players as well. You'll remember back a couple episodes, Kyle pointed out Cam Fletcher. He is hunting those gloves from Conway or Seifert. He's very handy, he's in very good form, and he scores quickly. He came away with the most sixes in the men's game with 23, 6 of them at that innings at Pukakura Park. Yeah,
he's just a phenomenal hitter. I believe that he was the one who probably took the game away from the Aces at Eden Park. He scored about 75, 76 or something like that, which put the game out of reach. And again, similar to Carney Clark, yes, he hits a good ball, but he is also quite circumspect when the situation dictates. So a good cricketing brain, and Conway and Seifert are under pressure if they want to keep the gloves.
I would agree. And our final pick of the season has to be Adi Ashok. Our friend Mike said, Renee, 2 years and he's going to be in that Black Caps squad. A very handy spin bowler. Great spell against the Firebirds early in the season. 3 for 8 runs. 3 wickets for 8 runs, that is.
Yeah. Ish Sodhi, beware, I reckon, because obviously Ish Sodhi is the Black Caps leg spinner at the moment, but from what I hear, Adi Ashok is being looked at in all formats for future for the Black Caps. So if you've got a test team that has a leg spinner in, they're very handy. Very, very handy.
Very handy. So next season, hopefully those 4 will be up in the top ranks. We'll have to wait nearly a whole year, but it's not over yet. How you thought I was going to forget? I will never forget. It is time to award the best hair of the 2021-2022 Super Smash. Now, I'm going to say, Mark, the calibre of hair, not as good as last season, so I have not compiled a full first 11, but I have got a top 3.
Okay, fire away. Who's number 3? We'll do it in ascending order.
Yes, in third place, Mr. Consistency. Good head of hair, really suits his whole facial structure. It's Ed Nuttall from the Kings.
Really suits his facial structure. That's a hell of a compliment. If you listen to Ed Nuttall, that is a hell of a compliment.
In second place, came out of nowhere a couple of weeks ago, took off his helmet and I nearly fell off the couch. It's Tim Robinson from the Wellington Firebirds. Took us all by surprise, including Mark Richardson.
It did. Who is... I don't even need to ask this question.
You don't even need to ask this question. Vaults may have come in 6th place on the table, but on the more important table of best hair of the 2021-22 Super Smash, congratulations, 6 seasons in a row, it is of course Michael Rippon.
Don't forget to tell us what product you use when it's raining. Still kind of keen to know that question from episode 1 or episode 2.
Congratulations to Michael Rippon, to the Brave, to the Blaze, and to everyone who took part in the Super Smash.
And our final segment, as usual, is the 11 of the week. What do you have for us this week, Renee?
Well, Mark, as you know, last week we launched our Facebook page.
We did.
And we got 100 likes within the first week. And I was thinking, oh, Mark, let's have a look at the first 11 of greatest 100s.
That is very topical again. I love this. So topical. Good.
I love it. But I have a confession just before I start. I thought I'd finished this 11 because I made it a little while ago, and I actually haven't. The problem is, Mark, I've got 100 or so first 11s, and I forget which ones are finished. So let's talk about what we've got, and then we might need some listener help. So opening the batting at number 1, A.B. de Villiers.
Okay.
At 2, we have Brendan McCullum.
Mm-hmm.
And at 3, David Miller hit the fastest T20 century a long time ago.
Yeah.
And at 4, Rohit Sharma. And at 5, of course, Corey Anderson for that 100 down in Queenstown. And at 6, I had Shahid Afridi.
Yeah.
And then I forgot to fill the rest out.
That is... So we've got 6?
So we've got 6. Now, I did mention this to our friend Brendan a little while ago, and he said, oh, that is full of candy cricket. So I'm thinking we're going to need some gritty test hundreds in here. Yeah,
I will go with Jason Gillespie in at 7 for his double 100 as a bowler as well.
That is
to
a good
score
one.
A double 100, so I'm quite keen to get Jason Gillespie in there. I have a few more to come to mind, but I would also like for listener feedback. We would love for you guys to fill out the rest of this 11. We've got 4 spots available, I think.
Correct.
8, 9, 10, 11. Yeah, so let us know.
Well done, Mark. You know how
Thank you very much.
You know how many cricket players are in a first 11.
It's a good job there wasn't more than 4 because I'd have been screwed. 4 is about as high as I can count. So send us a tweet, get in touch on Facebook, get in touch on Instagram. Instagram's Back of a Length. Facebook is Back of a Length. Podcast. Yeah, there we go. You can tell I don't do much of the social media. And Twitter is Back of a Length with a little underscore. Let us know who you would like to see round off that 111.
That is the episode for the week. Next week we will preview the White Ferns before they go into their series against India and wrap up anything else we can find around the country.
And it is not long until the Women's World Cup, and we cannot wait.
We're celebrating women's cricket in the next few episodes.
For sure. But for now, thank you so much for listening in. And as always, have a safe, have a happy week.